Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. So we're here with Steve Clelland today, the Vice President of IA Dealer Services, and his company provides a lot of services and products to the dealer community. And during this time of COVID-19, we found out the company was really going extra lengths for dealers. We thought we'd find out a little more about it. So Steve, over to you. Tell us about how you're helping dealers during this time.
Well, thank you very much, Todd. As you mentioned, these are very strange days in uncharted waters. So when we realized we had to start sending people home to work from home, one of the parts of our business that we couldn't operate from home was our chemical manufacturing facility in Toronto, which we had to find a way that we could keep our people occupied, but at the same time, figure out a way that we could help our dealer partners who've been very good at supporting us over the years. So through our team of chemists in Toronto, we managed to build a effective formulation of hand sanitizer, and we felt that it would be in the best interest of our dealer partners who are struggling, obviously, from a supply perspective, and also the fact that they are obviously still dealing with the public every single day to keep their businesses open, that we would provide them with a case of hand sanitizer at no cost to them to help them through this difficult time.
That's a great story, Steve, and it's something we're hearing more of as the supplier community is recognizing that dealers are having a tough time. A lot of business are, but they're rallying around to help them out. And sanitizer in particular, we've heard stories of people stealing them from supermarkets that are there to disinfect shopping carts. I mean, it's crazy times. But this is a product they're going to need now, and obviously beyond as the consumers begin to return to the dealerships, and they're going to want to see different sort of standards in place. So I guess, are you bracing for that next wave as well?
Yeah, I think it's fairly easy to look forward and see how our behavior is going to change in this world. I think that there will be a need for this post, obviously, and like anything else, there's a boom, bust, echo repetition wave to this that we need to be aware of. You look what happened in Hong Kong, where they thought they had themselves in the clear and then opened up their borders and ended up back in a bit of trouble. So even though everyone's waiting for that light at the end of the tunnel to present itself, where we get a clear, all clear notice, I guess I should call it, I don't think there is such a thing, and people are going to be quite skeptical. You look at the distancing that we're experiencing now when we need to, and I think that's going to continue. And obviously people are going to be a lot more cognizant of their hygiene and how they interact with people.
Well, you mentioned as well that these are extraordinary times, even for your company. So you've got teams of people that are now working remotely. You have factories producing products, shipping. How is your own organization sort of covering this, struggling to cope rather with COVID-19?
We've been very good from an administrative perspective because we've had, due to our obligations to our OEM supply partners, we need emergency protocols. So we have currently 95% of our staff are successfully working remotely. The only real difficulty we have is obviously everybody's working from home, and there's a pretty significant strain on the Wi-Fi internet infrastructure, which sometimes it takes 10, 15 times to dial in on a conference call, which didn't expect that. But again, probably the bigger problem is there are people who can't work remotely. So we've taken everyone off public transit. We're renting vehicles for those that to get to work. We've split shifted those to make sure that we have a minimum number of staff in the warehouse at all times. Social distancing is difficult, but we have enough compartmentalization to our operation that we can keep a minimum number of bodies in production, a minimum number in shifting and shipping. We also have team members coming in at 7 in the morning, and they are disinfecting and sanitizing all hard surfaces rather. So it's not absolute by any stretch of the imagination. As I mentioned to you earlier when we were speaking, that there's really no path in the snow to follow, so to speak. So we're taking a great deal of precautions. There's some things that I won't say they're slipping through the cracks, but our biggest problem right now is securing our supply lines as well for things like gloves and respirators and even just the regular supplies we need to enact on this venture to supply the hand sanitizer, because there's been some hoarding of raw materials and hoarding of bottles, et cetera. So the fortunate thing is we do have a very strong emergency contingency plan and have multiple suppliers that we can rely on to keep the lines going. So as long as they are open, we'll be open, and hopefully everybody can stay safe and follow the guidelines.
Well, thanks for that, Steve. Just one last question. For dealers, what message would you deliver them? I mean, and we talked earlier, as you mentioned, but there will be life on the far side of this crisis. We're going to get through it, and it's important that people maintain their connections and their support for dealers through this. What message would you have to dealers that are struggling to just keep their doors open, keep their businesses afloat during this time?
Yeah, Todd, I think about that every single day from our perspective. One of the things that I think I'm most aware of is the human condition here. I think that we can't predict what the government's going to do tomorrow, and I think obviously if most people, if not all, are able to observe the isolation order, it will help us greatly. I think the human element is a big part of this to make sure that your people are safe, not just from a physical perspective, but from the mental cost of this too, because it is incredibly stressful. And to do everything you can to keep your people not just feeling safe within the confines of the workplace, but also that they know that they're appreciated and that there's someone to talk to, I guess, is probably the biggest thing.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for your time. And again, on behalf of the dealers, thanks for your contribution during this crisis. And I'm sure it'll go a long way to making a difference during this and beyond. So that's all we have. And thanks for taking the time today and signing off.
And thank you.